In this lesson, we're continuing our discussion of abnormally dangerous activities. Specifically, we're going to move into the defenses. Really, the main defense we need to be familiar with here when we're thinking about the context of abnormally dangerous activities is going to be assumption of risk. Here we say if the plaintiff voluntarily assumes the risk of the harm from an abnormally dangerous activity, and remember, we defined what abnormally dangerous activities are in our last lesson, so we're not going to rehash it here. But in these cases, if we have a plaintiff who voluntarily assumes the risk of the harm from an abnormally dangerous activity, that plaintiff is barred from recovering for the harm sustained as a result of the abnormally dangerous activity. So the main thing to be aware of here when we're thinking about assumption of risk in the context of strict liability for abnormally dangerous activities is the knowledge requirement. The plaintiff does not assume the risk of harm unless he knows of the risk's existence. So let's think about a really basic example. Let's say we have a defendant who is engaged in a blasting operation. Remember, we talked about this in our last lesson. Let's say the defendant, for whatever reason, is detonating explosives somewhere. Maybe the defendant wants to take a building down, so they load the building up with explosives and they go to detonate the explosives to take the building down. Okay, and let's say that our defendant company that is engaging in this blasting operation post signs all over the building and around the building that basically say, do not enter these premises. We're conducting blasting operations. If you come onto the premises while we're conducting these operations, you can sustain injury, serious bodily harm. Do not enter. Okay, so they have these signs all around the building. They have them on all the doors to the building. They're everywhere, right? They put these big signs. Well, let's say our plaintiff comes up and sees one of these signs. Our plaintiff reads the sign, and the sign says, do not enter. If you come into the building, we're blowing stuff up. You could get hurt really bad. Okay, and let's say the plaintiff reads the sign. He understands it, and he goes, it's probably a bad idea to go in here while they're blowing up this building, but I'm going to go in anyways. So the plaintiff goes into the building. It gets blown up, right? And he sustains injury as a result of the detonation of explosives. In that case, can our plaintiff recover, or can our plaintiff hold the defendant strictly liable for engaging in an abnormally dangerous activity, basically for his harm sustained as a result of this blasting operation? And the answer is going to be no. The plaintiff here assumed the risk of the harm. The plaintiff read that sign. The plaintiff goes up, sees the warning sign that says, do not enter. If you enter, you can sustain serious injury, serious bodily harm. We're blasting this building. We're detonating explosives. Do not enter. At that point, our plaintiff became aware of the risk. It is enough that he knows that there is an abnormal risk of serious harm to which those who take part in the activity or come within its range will be subjected. So this is sufficient to meet the knowledge requirement. In this case, the plaintiff does assume the risk. He knows of the risk's existence and he chooses to go into the building anyway. This is classic assumption of risk. So because the plaintiff has voluntarily assumed the risk of the harm, he is barred from recovering for any harm sustained as a result of this activity. Okay, now let's think of a really important nuance here. There's this concept of contributory negligence we have to consider in an assumption of risk fact pattern. So here we say the contributory negligence of the plaintiff, which is basically, just remember, the plaintiff's failure to exercise reasonable care. So the contributory negligence of the plaintiff, or the plaintiff's failure to exercise reasonable care in failing to discover an abnormally dangerous activity or to take precautions against it, is generally irrelevant in determining whether the plaintiff assumed the risk. Okay, so let's take the exact same fact pattern. But let's say this time our plaintiff is walking up to the building, and let's say as the plaintiff is coming up to the building, he's texting in his phone. He's got his head glued to his screen on his device, and he's walking, and he doesn't see any of the signs. He doesn't see any of the warning signs that say, hey, we're blowing the building up, do not enter. He truly does not see any of these signs because he's glued to his phone. Let's say nobody stops him. There's no barriers that prevent him from entering. There's no locked doors. He's able to just walk up. He doesn't see any warning signs, and he goes into the building. The building, of course, gets blown up, and he sustains injury. In this case, can the plaintiff hold the defendant strictly liable for his harm as a result of an abnormally dangerous activity? Well, our question here is going to be, did the plaintiff assume the risk in this case? Remember, the first rule is our knowledge requirement. The plaintiff does not assume the risk of harm unless he knows of the risk's existence. In this case, our plaintiff does not know the risk existed. Nobody told him about it. He didn't see any of the warning signs. There was no barrier that stopped him. Nothing was presented in this fact pattern that tells us that the plaintiff was actually aware of the risk's existence. Thank you so much for watching this video preview of our Legal Education Accelerator Program, or LEAP for short. If you would like to see the conclusion of this video and gain full access to our entire 1L and 2L video library, integrated outlines, streamable audio versions, additional practice exams with explanations, and much more, we invite you to head over to our website and join the thousands of law students who have already enrolled. To get started with your no-risk free trial today, simply click the link in the description box below or visit www.studicata.com/leap.
Hi everyone, my name is Serena and I'm currently a law student at South Texas College of Law, Houston.
Hi everybody, my name is Shiva and I'm currently a law student at Southwestern.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle and I am a first year student at South Texas College of Law, Houston. I used the Studicata study video series last semester to help me prepare mostly for contracts, and I actually made an A+ in contracts last semester, which I greatly dedicate to the Studicata videos.
By using Studicata to help me prepare for my final exam, I was able to score the highest grade out of my class on the final and even have my essay distributed as the model answer. Not to mention I had done quite poorly on the midterm and was struggling throughout the whole course of the semester, understanding the material and keeping up with lectures.
Because of the Studicata video lectures, I was able to go into my exams with a feeling of confidence. I didn't have to worry about what the rules of law were or how I was going to organize my answer to an essay question.
I would absolutely recommend the Studicata series and their online course materials to anyone. I think that they are not like professor lectures that you might find online or other outside study materials that you may encounter. I think that the Studicata videos really focus on not only ensuring that you understand the material that you're going to encounter on your final, but they also help you to understand kind of the best method for test taking, and they really break down how to approach each problem and the best ways to tackle certain methods on testing, and I think that's really important, and I think it's really special. I don't see that anywhere else in any of the other online resources that I've found. So I would certainly recommend Studicata to anyone who is studying in law school right now. Good luck on your studying, and you're going to do great.
I would definitely recommend Studicata to anybody watching this video. Give it a chance. I'm positive that you will love it, that you will get a lot out of it, and that you will be happy that you gave it a chance. I definitely am. I know I will be using Studicata in the future.
And I cannot thank Studicata enough for getting me through my first semester of law school. I will definitely continue to watch the Studicata video lectures throughout my law school career, and I highly recommend that any future or current law student do the same.